APR Forum of Heads of State and Government. As we start our summit, I would like to invite you all to observe a moment of silence in honor and the memory of the late His Excellency John Pombe Magufuli, President of the Republic of Tanzania. Let us rise and observe a moment of silence. Thank you. Your Excellencies and peers of the APR Forum of Heads of State and Government, His Excellency, my brother Musafaki Mahamat, Chairperson of the African Union Commission, Her Excellency Professor Fatma Zora Garaja, Chairperson of the APR Panel of Eminent Persons, Professor Eddie Maluka, the Chief Executive Officer of the APRM Continental Secretariat, ministers and heads of delegations representing the APRM focal points, Your Excellencies and ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to say that it gives me great pleasure to open this 30th African Peer Review Forum of Heads of State and Government. We are holding this summit virtually as a measure to limit physical interaction between people and thus contain the spread of COVID-19. The pandemic has caused great suffering on our continent and continues to do so around the world. It has claimed the lives of millions of people. It has devastated economies and destroyed many livelihoods. It has placed systems of governance and service provision under significant strain, pushing our resources and capabilities as people, the state, to the limit. Under these conditions, and as we work to rebuild in the wake of COVID-19, the African peer review mechanism takes on an even greater significance. The APRM mission to promote the African Union's shared values of democratic governance and inclusive development remains a priority. The APRM is a firm statement of the resolve of African countries to strengthen effective governance and inclusive development. Also the rule of law and social and economic development. It is an important part of our effort as individual states and as a continent to tackle instability, conflict, corruption, and maladministration. Having revitalized the mechanism over the past 5 years, the APRM's strategic plan for 2020 to 2024 continues to drive towards accession by all AU member states. Of the 55 AU member states, more than 2/3 have already acceded to the APRM. This is a wonderful achievement. The most recent accessions, those of Zimbabwe and the Seychelles at our summit last year, bring our community to a total of 40. At the 29th APR Forum last year, we peer-reviewed the country review report of the Arab Republic of Egypt with a response from my brother, President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi. We also completed the first ever peer review of a targeted review report, and this was the Republic of Namibia's targeted review on youth unemployment as overseen by my brother, President Hage Geingob. In the last few months of 2020, our mechanism made several notable achievements despite the disruptive effects of COVID-19. The APRM team, in collaboration with members of the African Governance Architecture Platform, produced the Africa Governance Report 2021 on African Governance Futures to 2063. The National Governance Report team validated a toolkit for producing national governance reports with member states. The team worked with the Kenya APRM National Secretariat on virtual training and preparatory activities for the first pilot National Governance Report. The development phase of the pilot Kenya National Governance Report was launched virtually on the 9th of October 2020. The Early Warning and Conflict Prevention team completed an APRM briefing to the Peace and Security Council in March of 2020 and a virtual briefing in October. The APRM Credit Advisory Team launched the first African Sovereign Credit Ratings Review report in October. It commenced consultations with two international agencies, namely Fitch and Moody's, to enable the team to brief member states on the ratings processes as well as on the methodologies that are used. The APRM Monitoring and Evaluation team held a virtual capacity building workshop and developed a continental training program on the integration of APRM national programs of action into national development plans. Member states that participated included South Africa, Senegal, Mali, Burkina Faso, Benin, Niger, Mauritius, Nigeria, Djibouti, and Egypt. The research and monitoring and evaluation teams completed 55 country profiles for the Governance Atlas using the APRM electronic questionnaire tool. The online platform is completed and awaiting validation. The APRM base questionnaire was revised in 2020 to, among others, include a fifth thematic area, state resilience. The APRM hosted the third Africa Governance Seminar Series in December 2020, which included presentation of 8 papers that were developed by continental experts. The APRM also launched a report on governance mechanisms for the implementation of the SDGs and also Agenda 2063. Preparations have been completed for peer reviews at this summit on Liberia, discussion of the gap analysis report for Sudan, 2 targeted reviews of Zambia on tourism and mineral resources governance, and a targeted review report on Sierra Leone on the health governance and the national COVID-19 response. Now, due to the upcoming elections peer review of the targeted review report of Djibouti on fiscal decentralization has been postponed to the next forum. Your Excellencies, in addition to the country reviews and targeted reviews, we will at this meeting also peer review the progress reports for Kenya and Mozambique. Additionally, we will also present our former chairperson, President Idris Deby of the Republic of Chad, with a legacy report for excellent service to the mechanism during his distinguished tenure at the helm of the APRM from 2018 to 2020. We will also be provided with a preview of the Africa Governance Report 2021, completed by the APRM in conjunction with other Africa Governance Architecture institutions. We will receive the report of the Committee of Focal Points by its chair, Minister Senzo Mkhunu of South Africa. We will also have the honor of presenting a certificate of appreciation for distinguished service to Professor Ibrahim Gambari of the Republic of Nigeria, retiring member of the panel of eminent persons for West Africa. Allow me, Your Excellencies and ladies and gentlemen, to conclude by thanking each of you for providing political leadership and strategic guidance to the mechanism at both national as well as at continental level. Through these efforts, I am certain that the mechanism will be a vital instrument for the achievement of Africa's social and economic goals as enshrined in the AU's Agenda 2063 and the UN's Agenda 2030 for the sustainable development of our continent. And in this regard, I'd like to thank you. And I thank you dearly as we move on to my next speaker, who will be none other than my brother, His Excellency Musa Faki Mahamat, Chairperson of the African Union Commission. Musa Faki Mahamat, you have the floor.
Excellency Felix Tshisekedi, President of the Democratic Republic of Congo, current Chairman of the African Union. Excellency Cyril Ramaphosa, President of the Republic of South Africa, Chairman of the Forum of Head of State and Government of the African Peer Review Mechanism. Excellencies, Head of State and Government, Honorable Ministers, Professor Fatma Zahra Kharaja, Chairperson of the African Peer Review Panel of Eminent Persons, Dr. Adesina, President of the African Development Bank, Professor Maloka, Chief Executive Officer, APRM Secretariat, distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen. It is with a real pleasure that I participate in the 30th ordinary session of the Forum of Head of State and Government of the African Peer Review Mechanism. Established in 2003, 18 years ago, the African Peer Review Mechanism has proven to be an essential tool in the promotion and exercise of the good governance desired by the African Union. Despite its integration in the African Union, the APRM retained its independent and autonomous character, which was seen as a guarantee of its efficiency. On this basis, the mechanism has held open and frank discussions on good governance policies and programs in several African countries. It therefore created new spaces for citizen participation in public affairs. With 40 member states adhering, the APRM has gained a leading stature in the AU architecture. I therefore urge the remaining AU member states to speed up their accession to the APRM in order to achieve full universality by 2023, as foreseen in the first 10-year implementation plan of Agenda 2063. On achieving this universality, the APRM will strengthen the cause of good governance on the continent and its four manifestations of political governance, economic governance, corporate governance, and inclusive and general socio-economic development. Excellences, Monsieur le Président, Mesdames et Messieurs, il est encore trop tôt.
It is early to see the results of APRM. Its finality is one of the most important in Africa. A deficiency in terms of governance, and it's in part because of we are going through a lack of resources, corruption, exclusion, inequality against women, violent political and social crimes, inter-community conflicts, violation of political and human rights are all manifestations and consequences of between governance, stability and development that the APRM has to establish and promote without weakness or complicity. So it's an assurance with all risks against violences, inequalities, and poverty. The Africa that we won't reach it if we don't adhere to the spirits and morals of ideology of good governance, human rights, respect, justice, and the rule of law, as stipulated in our architecture. So the APRM, with collaboration with the governance architecture, the second study of this report on perspectives such as governance offers possibilities of realizing these aspirations. In this same spirit of satisfaction, I would like to mention or congratulate APRM for its determination despite the challenges by the COVID pandemic. We have done some reviews in a number of countries, especially in Liberia, Djibouti, Zambia, Sierra Leone, and we've had a mission Djibouti. I would like to congratulate the heads of those countries and all those that have promoted good governance, and at the same time express my gratitude to the panel of eminent personalities that did the review and the missions on governance. I would like to congratulate as well you, Professor Eddie Maluka, for the work that you always do at the Secretariat of the APRM in conditions that are not always. I would also like to congratulate all these intellectual efforts, and I hope that they won't go in vain and that they will help us to transform our realities. I would like to ensure that the new African Commission and myself would be happy to give you the support and everything that you need in order to accomplish your mission. Thank you very much.
Your Excellency, Musa Faki Mahamat, for your wonderful words and statement. Without much ado, I'd now like us to move on and ask Professor Fatma Zora Karaja, the chairperson of the APR panel of eminent persons, to make her statement. I think my no, it's muted again. Oh, I think my announcement was not heard. Thank you very much, Musa Faki Mahamat, for your statement. I'd now like to ask Professor Fatma Zora Karaja, the chairperson of the APR panel of eminent persons, to make a statement. Please go ahead and make your statement, Professor Karaja.
Thank you, Your Excellency. I'm online. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Your Excellency. Your Excellency, Mr. Cyril Ramaphosa, the President of the Republic of South Africa and current Chairperson of the Forum of APRM, Your Excellency, Heads of State and Government, Your Excellency, Mr. Mufa Faka, Chairperson of the AUC, distinguished ministers, focal points, the members of the panel of eminent persons, the CEO of the APRM. Since I have the honor to take the floor in this August Assembly, I'd like to congratulate the panel for the holding of this summit of the APRM Forum despite turbulent challenges. The panel would like to express its gratitude to President Cyril Ramaphosa for his support and his understanding throughout the year that enabled him to accomplish this task despite the challenges that exercised this period. Your Excellency, the panel of eminent persons of the APRM acknowledges the confidence that you entrusted to it and did not spare any effort to honor its commitment. The African peer review mechanism that you wanted to ensure that it managed governance as the political, technical, and ethical tool was based on an approach of inclusiveness that signifies your political will at the highest level based on shared values of common principles. It seeks to provide a review tool to exchange good practices for the benefit of governance on the continent. Today, the APRM, celebrating its 18 years, has reached maturity, and today, like you said, 40 countries have joined. And I'd like to, at this juncture, to express my gratitude to the Chairperson of the African Union Commission for having enabled countries to join in order to promote universal accession by 2023. The APRM has shown enthusiasm, especially from countries, through self-review, and have made important achievements such as country review assessments. It also experienced development problems like teething problems. It also experienced teenage problems, which are all quite natural. In 2016, under the chair of the Republic of Kenya, His Excellency President Uhuru Kenyatta initiated a revitalization operation that led to positive results. So the APRM implemented the agenda 2063 of the African Union, as well as the SDGs of the United Nations, which have similar aspirations and objectives. Moreover, its complete integration in the African Union enabled it to increase the potential and added value to optimize the unification of this knowledge with various organs of the African Union. In 2019, the chairperson of the forum has already listed the actions. I'm just recalling them, a few of them. So in 2019, in collaboration with the political department on the basis of the African architectural governance, the APRM produced an inaugural report on governance in Africa, followed today by its second edition of the Africa Governance Report in Africa, which is coherent, provided backed by this report provided by states. So, with the Peace and Security Council, a cooperation agreement was established in order to share and contribute to the unity, to early warning. During 2020, which was marked by an unprecedented situation due to the COVID-19 pandemic that destabilized the entire planet in its achievements, in its certainties, in its balance, the APRM undertook a preliminary study on the resilience of states, to which all structures of the APRM contributed, as well as the member states. This was followed by a deepening study to learn from lessons. In addition, a targeted review on health governance in the Republic of Sierra Leone, previously affected by the Ebola pandemic, came to strengthen the data of this study. Ultimately, it led to the development of objective indicators that help to improve and increase its area of remit. So the APRM wants to provide states the possibility to review their situations upon major risks or disasters, especially in regard to the organization of self-reliant channels, to be able to predict crises and develop solidarity channels among countries, like it has been the case with this pandemic. The APRM also multiplied initiatives to integrate gender. For today, Africa has understood that it cannot develop if it does not involve all its human potential. African countries have also pulled their efforts, and strategies are increasing to ensure the integration of women and young people. Your Excellency, I'd like to open a small bracket here, so to speak, to express the request of the panel. Once the APRM is part and parcel of the African Union, the panel recommends the implementation of Rule 50% in the Commission regarding gender balance in the process of appointing panel members. I have closed the bracket. Now, regard to the youth, they were mobilized and they are ready to get into action with their capacity to innovate and their will to change. It is in this way that they could be break with the idea that the best are elsewhere, to invest in the development of their continent. For us, the senior citizens, we have to ensure that we bequeath our heritage, our values, our culture, in order to revive in them the flame of Pan-Africanism that has guided our generation. Your Excellency, ladies and gentlemen, heads of government, heads of state and government, you are the leaders of our continent, and the APRM is here to support you in this towards good governance. In order to encourage this transformative leadership, we would like to exhort Your Excellencies to support the African peer review mechanism, to guide it, to harmonize these structures in countries and at the continent, to preserve its Africanity or Africanness and promote its potential. accordingly, we'll be able to change the Afro-pessimistic scenario and ensure that our continent that is rich in natural resources, rich in its culture, rich in its diversity, ensure that it builds itself towards an Africa that we want. By wishing you fruitful deliberations, thank you for your kind attention.
Thank you very much indeed, Professor Karaja. We welcome your statement. It sets us on a very strong path. But to have a panel of eminent persons like yourself just strengthens the work that we need to do. And so we would like to truly thank you. Now it is time for me to present a legacy report to my brother, His Excellency Idris Deby of the Republic of Chad, for excellent service to the APRM during his distinguished tenure as the immediate past chairperson of the APR Forum from 2018 to 2020. I am following in his great footsteps, and I would like to hope that I can fit into his boots as I carry on the work of the APRM. I'd like to take this opportunity to hand over a virtual presentation to the legacy report to His Excellency President Deby. I hope and trust, Your Excellency, that this report will remind you of the impressive and important work that you've led our continent. And I'd now like to invite President Deby to make a statement as he accepts this report.
Your Excellency President, can you hear? It's Eddie Maloka. Can you hear me, sir?
I can hear you, Eddie.
Yes, President. We received a request from the Republic of Chad to the effect that the President Deby excuses himself and requests the deferment of this ceremony because there is an election taking place in the country which affects him and he's engaged in it. He is nonetheless, he is duly represented in this meeting, and they also request if, sir, you could mandate the chairperson of focal points, Minister Mtunu, to arrange for the physical presentation of this report to himself. He is ready to receive him and organize appropriately a ceremony in Jamena to this effect. But the delegation is here, is led by a mandated leader in his government, and I'm sure, sir, they can make a statement if you do wish. Thank you very much, President.
Okay, we're quite happy to have a statement being read on behalf of President Idris Deby. Is there anyone who has been delegated to make such a statement? If not, oh, okay, there you are. Yeah, oui.
Excellence, Monsieur le Président de la République sud-africaine, Excellence, Messieurs les chefs d'État et de gouvernement, Monsieur le Président de la Commission de l'Union africaine, d'éminentes personnalités. Effectivement, le point focal du MAEP vient de me remettre.
I've just been given the report from His Excellency President Idriss Deby, Head of State, who has requested me to represent this summit, has requested me to apologies because he would have loved to present this report himself, because he followed everything with closely, all the preparation of this report. He expresses his gratitude and thanks for the work that has given these results that is satisfactory. He has also requested me to express his gratitude and encouraging the Continental Secretariat for the efforts that were made for the preparation of this report, with the conclusion represent the reality on the ground. He would also like to thank all those who contributed to the writing of the report. Excellencies, allow me to assure you that I'm happy to submit this report to you as it was submitted to me. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you indeed. Please do give my brother, President Idriss Deby, our greetings. Collectively, it is now my privilege to invite His Excellency Dr. Akinwumi Adesina, the President of the African Development Bank Group, to present a message of support.
Cyril Ramaphosa, President of the Republic of South Africa and Chairman of the African Peer Review Mechanism, Your Excellency President Felix Tshisekedi, Chairman of the African Union, Your Excellencies, Heads of State and Government, Your Excellency
Tshisekedi, President of the African Union, Excellency Msafaki, Chairperson of the Commission, Madam Karacha, Chair of the panel of eminent personalities, Mr. Eddie Maloka, the head of APRM. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to thank you, Your Excellency Cyril Ramaphosa, for having welcomed here in your Summit of Heads of State and Government. As Chair of African Union, I would like to thank you for all the progress that have been achieved in terms of development on our continent. I would like to congratulate our brother, Mr. Musa, for President of the Commission of the African Union. I would like to congratulate their President Tshisekedi, who is the new Chair of the African Union, and the government of DRC for having joined the APRM. I would like to say that today APRM has got 23 member states. This is a big success, but like the President of the Commission said it, I would like to urge the 17 remaining member states to follow suit. Today we are holding this meeting faced with the big challenge, world challenge of this COVID pandemic that affects all sectors of life, including development. The African Development Bank project that there will be a reduction in growth in Africa. This is based on two factors: access to vaccines. I would like to congratulate efforts by President Ramaphosa and the African Union Commission for the efforts that have been made in order to acquire vaccines for the continent. And the 20 million vaccines have been delivered to African countries, and that only represents 2% of our need, continental need. It is time that there has to be a world solidarity in terms of vaccines. On the issue of debt, we need action, urgent action. The African debt is alarming. The commercial
we can't hear any longer.
If we don't buy down the very high levels of bondholders' creditors' debt, future will be extremely difficult for recovery and for accelerated growth. Your Excellencies, to grow African economies back bolder and better, there must be financial and economic stability. It is time to now put in place an African financial stabilization mechanism to protect Africa from massive impacts of exogenous shocks on our economies and region, especially now with the African Continental Free Trade Area. Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, Africa will recover, but that recovery will require much strengthened governance at all levels, including decisive actions to end illicit capital flows and ensuring more transparent governance over the management of Africa's vast natural resources. The better we govern ourselves, the better lives of the governed, the people of Africa. I wish to therefore reiterate my unflinching support for the APRM. Strategic partner, the African Development Bank is strongly committed to the APRM because we share many of the same goals and objectives. Only a few weeks ago, our board of directors approved our new strategy for economic governance in Africa to guide our engagements in support of Africa's sustainable economic development and social progress. Through our APRM institutional support project, the bank will continue to very strongly back efforts to enhance the efficiency, effectiveness, and relevance of the APRM. The bank will continue to strongly support country reviews as well as capacity building. The bank stands fully ready to support you strongly, your heads as heads of state and government, as you embark on bold economic reforms to spur faster growth of your economies and your countries. Your Excellencies, your individual and collective support, your leadership, your vision and commitment are fundamental for much needed reforms. As we are holding today this 30th summit, it demonstrates your resolve to further strengthen governance, accountability, and accelerated development of our very dear continent. Thank you all very much for what you do every single day. We continue to count on your leadership. Thank you very much, Mr. President.
Very much, my brother. We were meant to have a briefing from President Museveni, His Excellency, President of the Republic of Uganda. I have not been able to see President Museveni on the platform. If he's there, then we'll give him the opportunity to speak. If not, yes. Yes, please.
Thank you very much. Your Excellency, His Excellency President Cyril Ramaphosa has not made it to this forum, but he gave me his prepared short statement. I request that I make it, Your Excellency.
Okay, please go ahead and make it.
Your Excellency, President Ramaphosa, the Chairperson of APRM, Your Excellencies, Heads of State and Government of APRM member states, His Excellency Faki Mahati, the Chairperson of AUC, and my colleagues, the focal points. My name is David Bahati, the Minister of State for Planning, but also the focal person of the APRM in Uganda. And His Excellency President Cyril Ramaphosa sent his regards, and he has asked me to make his remarks. In a special way, Your Excellency, I want to register our condolences to the people of Tanzania for the passing of our good friend, His Excellency John Pombe Magufuli of Tanzania. We in East Africa and Africa as a whole have lost a brilliant, clear-headed leader who in a short time had impacted on the East African community. The effects of COVID-19 are enormous and unprecedented. They are manifested in deaths, disruptions in people's way of life, and disruptions in supply chains. These have far-reaching implications on both people's lives and national economies. Africa faced its first COVID case in 2020 February. Especially Uganda registered her first case of COVID-19 on Saturday, 21st March 2020. This marks a year since Uganda discovered its first COVID case. Since the first COVID, Africa has had 4.1 million total cases of COVID-19 and has lost 111 Africans since that time. We therefore mourn for the departed souls of our brothers and sisters, and nevertheless, African COVID deaths have not been as worse as those experienced in other countries. So as we prepare, Your Excellencies, to review several countries today, we have to recall that Africa and APRM countries in particular have not witnessed a pandemic of COVID-19 magnitude. Uganda was ranked highly globally in COVID-19 mitigation and response. Specifically, the Lancaster Medical Journal ranked Uganda as one of the top 10 best performing countries in the fight against COVID. Your Excellencies, in sharing our experiences on COVID and the fight against COVID, would wish to touch on 3 points. His Excellency President would wish to share on 3 important points of policy and strategic direction. 1, vaccine development and production. Uganda has invested more than 30 million in the development of vaccine, and our scientists have now started and commenced the first trial of our vaccine. So, Your Excellencies, I urge you that as a strategic direction for our continent, we must invest in scientific research and development to develop our own vaccines if we are to fight other pandemics in the future. The second point is on food production. Uganda's economy was affected by COVID, especially in vulnerable sectors like tourism. But because of our earlier investment in food production, our economy has remained resilient and is growing at 3.1% as opposed to 7.1% before COVID. Because of the food production we have had in our country, food prices during this pandemic went down instead of going up. The third point is on import substitution. Your Excellencies, in order to defend our economy from the effects of COVID, we have invested over 300 million in our development bank to support the manufacturing sector. And I can confirm to you that all the accessories that we are using now in the country, including masks and sanitizers, are locally manufactured here. Lastly, Your Excellencies, we want to thank the African Union. On March 5th, 2021, the country obtained the first batch of 864,000 doses of AstraZeneca vaccine. These were received via the COVAX facility, the world's facility for universal access to COVID vaccines. The first phase of vaccination using these vaccines was launched on March 2020, 11 March 2021. Uganda targets vaccinate 49.6% of its population. We continue to pray that our countries remain united as we fight this pandemic, and also as we look at the strategic direction of these 3 points: vaccine development, import substitution, and lastly, making sure that our economy remains resilient in food production and other areas. I thank you, Your Excellency, and thank you for giving us opportunity to share this.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that statement from President Museveni. We move on with our program. We have a rather lengthy program. Now I want to call His Excellency President Felix Tshisekedi to accede to the APRM on behalf of the Democratic Republic of Congo. President Tshisekedi.
Oui, Président, je suis là.
Yeah, Your Excellency.
Merci.
Your Excellency, the President of the Republic of South Africa, the current chair of the Forum of Heads of State, Your Excellencies, heads of state and government of the APRM, distinguished points of the APRM, the members of the panel of eminent persons of the APRM, the Chief Executive Officer of the Continental Secretariat of APRM. It is with honor and pride that I take the floor on the occasion of this 30th Forum of Heads of State and Government of the African Peer Review Mechanism, the APRM, to announce the accession of the Democratic Republic of Congo to the APRM. And in this light, I should, first of all, and out of the and brotherliness, to express my gratitude to the sister country, South Africa, through Mr. President of the Republic of South Africa, Mr. Cyril Ramaphosa, and current chair of the Forum of the APRM. I also like to do the same to you, my peers, for the constant support that the Democratic Republic of Congo, my country, has always benefited since they joined the APRM 2021-2022. Your Excellencies, the development of our continent, in addition to the economic and social considerations, depends on the promotion of good governance practices. This reality, as advocated by the APRM, is my approach, the approach that I've adopted since I became president of my country in January 2019. The promotion of good governance, the rule of law, and the respect of human rights and the fight against corruption and impunity are important pillars of the governance program of the Democratic Republic of Congo. However, without any review and without any support, such a program cannot come to fruition. Conscious of the added value that such a mechanism represents, it is in this light that my government supported by the Agency for the Prevention and the Fight Against Corruption, APRMC, has started taking all approaches to so that my country can join the APRM. This approach actually was marked by the visit of the CEO of the APRM on the 14 to 17 March, last 14 to 17 March in Kinshasa, and the signing of an MOU in the process. By presenting its candidature, the Democratic Republic of Congo undertakes through me to fully take part in the discussion of governance. By joining the APRM, we hope to get the support of our peers in the review of our practices regarding good governance, which is a prerequisite to development and the strengthening of rule of law in our country. It's on this note that I'd like to conclude my message by wishing that our mutual review should always be beneficial to the Congolese people and the entire continent in its entirety. And I declare the accession of the Democratic Republic of Congo to the African Peer Review Mechanism. Long live good governance. Thank you very much for your kind attention.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency, President Felix Tshisekedi. Would like to congratulate the Democratic Republic of Congo for acceding to the APRM and becoming part of the family of nations that has acceded to the APRM. We really thank you for that and look forward to working closely together. Would now like to request His Excellency, President Mokgweetsi Masisi of the Republic of Botswana, to make an intervention. President Masisi, Your Excellency.
Thank you very much, Excellency, the Chairperson and President of South Africa, President Cyril Ramaphosa. Let me start by thanking you for inviting Botswana to be part of this very important 30th summit of the African Peer Review Mechanism. As you are aware, Botswana signed and acceded to the African Peer Review Mechanism on the 10th of February 2019. This was a clear demonstration of our commitment to the ideals of the African Union, of promoting a culture of democracy, good governance, the rule of law, respect for human rights and human dignity. These are values that have formed the foundation of our country, Botswana, even before we attained independence. My government has since commenced the process of establishing a national governing council, while a dedicated focal point on African peer review mechanism has already been appointed. We believe all the administrative issues will be completed by the time of the next ordinary summit of the African Union. Having said that, let me take this opportunity to join my other colleagues in commending the countries under review for the comprehensive reports. This is not only indicative of the seriousness we attach to this peer review process, but also our commitment towards improving our country's democratic and political governance, as well as socioeconomic management and development. We will all agree that these governance issues are fundamental to the progressive and sustainable development of our continent. I also wish to commend the APRM Secretariat for producing the Second African Governance Report 2021, AGR 2021. We have noted with keen interest the areas covered in the report and the recommendations therein. These include the promotion of African-based values and ethics, the uplifting, legitimizing, and formalizing of African knowledge systems, such as in the areas of agriculture, medicine, and education, promotion of cultural diversity, as well as engaging our youth and women in the development and peace processes of our countries. We believe that these are some of the important aspects of our African heritage that we should embrace in our development agenda. We will engage further on this report at the next African Union Summit. May I also add my voice, Mr. Chairman, in welcoming our new member, the Democratic Republic of Congo, to the APRM family. They are joining at a very important time to lead by example as the current chair of the African Union. Welcome, President Tshisekedi. We look forward to interact with the country as we continue in our efforts towards finding ways, particularly through learning from each other's experiences, to further improve our governance systems on the continent. Finally, Mr. Chairman, I wish to also pay special tribute to the renowned Professor Ibrahim Kambari as a retiring member of the panel of eminent persons. We will forever be indebted to his immense contribution to the development of the APRM mechanism. We wish him all the best in his future endeavors. I thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Your Excellency, President Masisi, President of the Republic of Botswana, for your intervention. I'd now like to request His Excellency, President Emmerson Mnangagwa, and President of the Republic of Zimbabwe, to make his intervention. President Mnangagwa.
Thank you, Your Excellency. This is Professor Amon Murwira. I will be making a statement on behalf of His Excellency, who cannot be with us at this moment. Permission to proceed, Your Excellency. I have the honor and privilege to represent His Excellency and President of the Republic of Zimbabwe, His Excellency Dr. E.D. Mnangagwa, and I open court. Your Excellency Cyril Ramaphosa, President of the Republic of South Africa and Chair of the African Peer Review Forum. Your Excellency President Felix Tshisekedi, Chairman of the African Union. Your Excellency, fellow heads of state and government. Your Excellency Musa Faki Muhammad, Chair of the AUC. Professor Fatima Zora Karaja, Chair of the APR panel of eminent persons. Professor Eddie Maloka, Chief Executive Officer of the Africa Peer Review Mechanism. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to begin by commending you, Chair, for convening this very important forum and for the able manner in which you are steering our agenda. Mr. Chair and dear colleagues, my intervention at this juncture is to express my singular honor to be participating in this forum for the first time. Following Zimbabwe's accession to the Africa Peer Review Mechanism in February 2020, as its 39th member. It is indeed an important milestone in Zimbabwe's journey to work with fellow member states in exchanging ideas on critical issues to push forward the core mandate of promoting voluntary good governance among APRM member states for the mutual benefit of our peoples. I take the opportunity to inform you, Ms. Chair and dear colleagues, that Zimbabwe is keenly engaged in working out modalities of setting up its national structures, which will enable it to fully participate in the mechanism. Regrettably, the pace of the project has not unfolded as projected due to the unanticipated outbreak of COVID-19 pandemic, which has wreaked havoc across the whole globe, altering the course of doing business. To contain the infections, Zimbabwe has been implementing a cocktail of measures. These measures have included a level 4 national lockdown for the period 5 January to 1 March 2021, subsequent to the spike in the number of infections and deaths at the beginning of this year. Thankfully, following the national lockdown, Zimbabwe has witnessed a progressive decline in recorded cases and loss of lives per day, making it possible to downgrade the national lockdown to level 2. The vaccination program rolled out by my government gives us hope to stabilize the tragic situation and raises the expectation to return to an environment where normal work is possible. Also, Mr. Chair, in preparation to fully participate in national APRM processes, I'm happy to report that sensitization of civil society organizations on their role in the APRM is already underway. In addition, Zimbabwe is participating fully in workshops hosted by the Continental Secretariat to exchange ideas on technical modalities involved in the APRM process, including monitoring, evaluation and reporting systems, and other preparatory activities. Mr. Chair, allow me to conclude my remarks by reiterating Zimbabwe's commitment and readiness to jointly work with you, Chair, and the APRM Secretariat on the outstanding stages of integration into the mechanism. I thank you. I close quote.
Thank you very much. We appreciate the message from His Excellency, President E.D. Mnangagwa, President of the Republic of Zimbabwe. Thank you so much. I now want to see and invite other excellencies, heads of state and government, who would like to make a statement during this open session. Other excellencies will be able to speak during the course because there are presentations that are going to be made. But I'd like to give Your Excellencies any opportunity to make an open statement during this open session. If any, I will now give that opportunity. I'm sorry that we did not do so ahead of time, but we would like to give that opportunity. I see that His Excellency President Julius Maada, the President of Sierra Leone, is ready and willing to make such a statement. Your Excellency, please go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. His Excellency Felix Antoine Tshisekedi, Chairman of the African Union and President of the Democratic Republic of Congo, His Excellency Cyril Ramaphosa, Chairman of the 30th African Peer Review Forum of Heads of State and Government and President of the Republic of South Africa, His Excellency Musa Faki Mahamat, Chairperson of the African Union Commission, colleague excellencies, heads of state and government, Dr. Akim Wumi Adesina, President of the African Development Bank, distinguished members of the APRM panel of eminent persons, dignitaries and delegates, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Permit me from the outset, on behalf of the government and people of Sierra Leone, to join in expressing condolences for the loss of one of our colleagues, His Excellency John Pombe Magufuli, For this great loss, my government mourns with the people and government of the United Republic of Tanzania. Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, the last 1 year has been fraught with multitude of socio-economic and financial constraints that have largely scuppered the even progress we have been making in most of our nations. We have navigated and are still contending with uncertainties arising from the global pandemic. COVID-19, they have shaken our bold strides, development strides on the continent, but it cannot and should not dampen our resolve to consolidate accountable democratic governance, maintain peace, and sustain our drive to achieving inclusive development. Our development in Sierra Leone is firmly anchored on our medium-term national development plan and our core priorities as a government to remain a human capital development within the context of a nation that is conducive for investment and business. It is an agenda that we deem necessary for building resilience in a nation that has been knocked to the ground many times and stood up with much verve every time. It is with this spirit that we will survive and persist that we have confronted COVID-19 over the last 1 year. So let me thank the APRM Secretariat and all distinguished members of the APRM governance team. Let me also thank the National Governing Council and Secretariat in Sierra Leone for their salutary work that has led to this targeted review of the health governance and COVID-19 response in the Republic of Sierra Leone. Let me also thank the entire APRM family for their immeasurable support and tireless effort to promote democratic governance in APRM member states and the African continent as a whole. In particular, I wish to thank Ambassador Inong, APRM member of eminent persons responsible for the Republic of Sierra Leone, for leading the targeted review mission team to Sierra Leone during the precarious global health crisis. Let me also thank Professor Eddie Maloka, Executive Officer of the APRM Continental Secretariat, and the entire Secretariat staff for not only selecting Sierra Leone as one of 4 APRM member states to conduct a target review on national response to COVID-19 pandemic, but also for their enormous financial and technical support that culminated in the production of the report we have before us today. Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, this report is not only about sharing our success story as a nation. It is about discussing candidly the drive to continue doing even better for the sake of our nation and its people. Evidently, this targeted review will inform the ensuing national program of action for strengthening our capacity as a country to deal with future public health emergencies and also serve as a basis for overhauling our health sector in the Republic of Sierra Leone. We therefore welcome the clarity and objectivity of the observations, findings, and recommendations outlined in the targeted review report we have in front of us. Our governance policies, public health measures, and public emergency structures have been well documented. Our anticipation, our risk communication, and social mobilization, our leveraging of technology, our reliance on expert scientific opinion, our use of data, have all been documented in this report. So too are our regular engagements with development partners, civil society, the private sector, at-risk populations, the security services, local councils and traditional leaders, parliamentarians, academics, and every citizen. Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, our commitment to delivering quality and sustained healthcare services through and in the post-COVID era is driven by Cluster 1.3 of our medium-term national development plan. The data speaks to how policymakers will structure bespoke interventions and build a nimble sector that is sustainable and efficient and fit for purpose. I would also like to reaffirm government's commitment to working with the APRM, the AU, the UN, and all esteemed development partners in translating the findings of the targeted review report on health governance and COVID-19 response in Sierra Leone into viable programs of action. To that end, I believe we must sustain focused engagements and
it would appear like President Bio Mada has been cut off by the system. It must be a connectivity problem. I would now like to find out if there is any other head of state and government who would like to speak now. If not, then I would like to move on to our closed session so that we can get on with the business of our summit. With that, Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, this marks the end of our open session. As this is the end of our open session, we will now move to the closed session where participating member states and the APR panel, strategic partners of the APRM, and Continental Secretariat officials will be participating and other invited guests.